Hello, I'm Pastor Matt Bonfleth, the senior pastor at American Lutheran Church in Rantoul, Illinois. American Lutheran Church is a congregation of some long standing here in the area. I'm a relatively new pastor here, about 5 months. But in that time, I've already seen that this is a congregation that has experienced a lot of change over the years, but also is beginning to experience some exciting change as we reach out to work in God's kingdom, not only here in the area of Rantoul and the surrounding cities of Champaign-Urbana, but also at this time even out into the world. We have a trip coming up this summer as a part of a organized, planned partnership from my previous congregations that I've been a part of to Tanzania, Africa. It is a partnership with Msuranga Mandaka Lutheran Parish in Tanzania, just south of Kilimanjaro Mountain. And we have a team of people here, actually 2 teams of people here from American Lutheran Church who are going to be traveling as a part of that upcoming trip. And one of those is a group of what we call the Village Team, who will be spending their 2-week time inside of the Moshi and Msuranga area, learning about women's ministries, the surrounding areas and the ministry of the church, and another team that will be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. I'd like to take a moment and have you get to meet the members of the team.
Hi, I'm Emily Deal from American Lutheran Church, and I'm part of the Village Group.
I'm Deanne McMorris, and I'm a member of the Village Team.
Hi, I'm Becky Bonfleth, and I'm part of the Village Team.
I'm Josh Bonfleth, and I'm a member of the Climbing Team.
This trip that's coming up this summer is one that will be a 2-week process. We're actually going to be leaving the United States on Monday the 16th of July, and we'll be returning at the end of July, actually arriving back in the United States on August 1st. Our travel plans include meeting up with a team that is coming from Nebraska and Illinois. Most likely, I believe, is going to be in Chicago, where we'll be flying from there to Amsterdam, and the final leg of the trip takes us from Amsterdam down into Kilimanjaro Regional Airport in Tanzania. The trip is one that will be a 2-week process of discovery and opportunity, and will be one that is an expansion and a continued expansion, and hopefully something that American Lutheran Church will choose to join in the long run, to be a part of a partnership ministry in Tanzania with the congregation there and also Nebraska. The opportunities of this particular mission offers us the ability to grow an understanding of God's kingdom by making relationships be the center focus that is a part of who we are, what we do, and as we do that, then developing ministry and mission according to the need that comes from that understanding in our partnership and relationships. I'm very excited to be able to take another group of people with me and more new people to experience this relationship growing and this opportunity to see all of God's kingdom in a new way through traveling to a very different culture.
While we're there in Tanzania this time, the church Msuranga Mandaka has sub-parishes underneath it. And what we will be doing is going to the different women's groups that are in that parish and working on making batik fabric and working in their gardens that they have, helping teaching kindergarten classes that they have started in those congregations, getting to know the families in their homes, getting to know the women that are there and what their daily lives might entail in the jobs that they do. Also, just being there and feeling what that culture is like and just living and seeing how they live.
To be very honest, I'm looking forward to meeting everyone. I just think that the relationship they have with our Lord has got to be unbelievable. You know, that they'll walk to church, they'll experience all those things, and we just don't do that the way that they do that. We don't take things for granted like they do. They have a wonderful relationship, and we don't. And I want to know about that. I want to know how they get that, what they do, and I just want to become closer to something like that.
Their way of living, their food. You know, you hear so many different things, and I don't really think that it's really as primitive as everybody thinks it is. And just opened my eyes to probably make me a new person when I come back here.
I'm excited to go back because of relationships that I've started, seeing the center come back to fruition, knowing that the children's center that we saw when we were there the last time, which I think is 4 years ago, was sharing a building with a kindergarten class, and it was small, and it was one room, and they had stairs that led up to it, and there was no bathroom in the building. And to see now the center where there's a bathroom that kids can use, and there's no stairs that they need to get up to for wheelchairs, and the kids have classrooms, and there's more teachers, and they can supply education for more of the students. I'm excited to see how that is growing and how that has been built up. Also excited to see other women and other families that we got to know when we were there, and see how they've changed and how we can build that relationship up.
Well, I think what I'm looking forward to the most, and this being my 6th trip to Tanzania, what I look forward to most is actually getting to see people grow who get to go with me. I'm getting to share now a trip with people who are going to now not be first-timers, and to see and hear the differences of expectations for them as they realize things now that they never could have done or imagined being a part of this when they first were talking about going. And also having such a large group of people now who have come onto the scene and said, yes, we'd like to go and be a part of this. And the absolute joy and anticipation and yet complete unknown sense of what's going to happen. I think the kingdom of God gives us a constant adventure, a constant chance to experience newness. And what I long to see when I get to take people with me, is for them to experience a new sense of what the adventure of faith is. And this really opens up a door that I always hope and long for, that people will come back and look at everything from the same perspective that they saw through their eyes in Tanzania. Of course, I'm looking forward to seeing my family. They have become my family in Tanzania. I'm looking forward to connecting with them to see how they're doing, what changes have happened, the possibilities of their hope as they're growing. And then just for my own self as well, to get a chance to be refreshed among a people that bring hospitality in such a way that's hard to imagine in our culture. But one, when I think you've been touched by it, gives you another sense of what it means to be a part of the foretaste of the kingdom that God's opening for us in heaven.
So a lot of the stuff that I've heard mainly from people that I've talked to that have been there and come back, they love to talk about how hospitable everybody is over in that community. They're very welcoming, very loving, very nurturing. It's like an extension of your own family. They say that it feels like people that you've known your whole lives, but you're just finally meeting them in person. So I'm really excited to just travel overseas. This will be my first time traveling overseas. So to experience a new culture other than my own, and to maybe realize some stuff that I take for granted in my own life. Living in the U.S., we live a lot in excess, so it'll be a huge, wide eye-opener to how another part of the world lives that doesn't necessarily have all of the benefits that we do over here. So mainly I'm just excited to experience a whole nother culture, just to see how other people live, see how I can apply some of what they do into my own life.
To tell you a little bit about the climbing portion of this trip, it is a 7-day trek on what is called the Machami route of Kilimanjaro. Over those 7 days, we'll be covering a course of about 37 to 40 miles, each day ranging anywhere from a few miles a day to the longest day, I believe, being close to about 7 or 8 miles in that day. We begin our climb at a certain place up the mountain, but eventually seeking to get to the peak of the mountain at a little over 19,000 feet. On the trip, we'll be experiencing a variety of different terrains and weathers, not only from the warmer regions of where we'll begin at the bottom of the mountain to an Arctic terrain at the top of the mountain with a snowfall cover at the end. We'll also be traveling through different forested areas and sometimes rocky terrain as well as we move and progress through a rainforest and dry experience all the way through. One of the challenges of the climb is, of course, the overcoming of altitude. And so the first several days of the trip, we will move up the first day and then spend several days acclimating to the altitude, and then making the largest part of the trip on the 5th and 6th day to reach the peak of the mountain. This is a trip that is going to test myself and others in many different ways. But one of the opportunities I think that is exciting is listening to the teams already talking here and knowing that we're going to be joined by 15 of the youth of the congregations in Tanzania as well. It'll be an opportunity to see again how people can support each other to overcome, to be able to go ahead and survive and to be able to make things happen that otherwise would seem to be unattainable.
I've had some climbing experience in the past, going to Colorado for the past several years, climbing up the mountains there. So when my dad asked me if I wanted to go to Tanzania and climb up Kilimanjaro, I was very excited to do that because it's something I see as a challenge that I want to overcome. And going up to the higher altitudes and getting to the top of the mountain, it's just a very sensational feeling and a very big sense of accomplishment for yourself when you make it to the top. So naturally, I was hesitant at first, but I was definitely very excited to join the team because I felt like I had enough experience that it was something right up my path. It just felt like a nice fit as an opportunity to help with a different community.
Now this trip is not only for us who are climbing. As a matter of fact, the way I look at it, we are actually giving up in many ways ourselves and our expenses to be able to go, but for a greater mission in truth. Several years ago, as a part of the congregation at Christ the Servant in Norfolk, Nebraska, the youth had a vision to build a center for children with disabilities so that they would have a facility of their own where they'd be able to have adequate and well taken care of toilets, ADA accessible ramps and abilities to be able to get in and move, and to be able to support a population of children who otherwise wouldn't be able to necessarily have any hope or any schooling as they move forward in their life. This opportunity of climbing is one that we don't seek to raise or to get to the end of a 40-mile trip just to say that we've done it, but to actually be seeking people who will sponsor the climbers for the amount of mileage that we climb and seeking to collect all those funds when we return and then delivering them back to the center itself. So that the center will be able to have sustainability, will be able to continue to do its work of teaching and expanding the number of children that can be reached, and to continue to allow people to grow with the information and ways to be able to teach and better supply assistance for these children as well.
It's a bit overwhelming. It's kind of given me more of a drive to want to get to the top of the mountain, not only for myself, but the farther I get, the more funds we can raise for these children and for the school. So I would feel a lot better driving myself to get to the top rather than, of course, I have my own physical limits, but I want to keep going as far as I possibly can. Even if I don't get to the top, I want to feel like I did my very best. Even if I have to come back down because I can't handle the altitude. But it's definitely given me more of a drive to want to do the very best I can for these kids.
Well, we thank you for paying attention to this video, and we hope that it has been able to shed a little more light on the trip upcoming to Tanzania. Of course, there is so much more to talk about and learn. We welcome at any time that you would talk to any one of the members of the team to ask them more about what's happening, what they're going to experience, what they're looking forward to again, and more about the trip itself. We thank you for your participation and support, whether through prayers or donations, and also just the fact that you're willing to be a part of experiencing this new opportunity and growth for you. We thank you also for being the people of God that you are, and the adventure that you are on as a member here at this congregation, praying that this will again, in one of many of the ways we do here, open your eyes to the power, the size, and the possibility of God's kingdom and what it means for us to serve in that kingdom with Him. Thank you.